Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to crack open a document that really quietly changed the world. This is the original 2008 white paper that kicked off a global phenomenon, Satoshi Nakamoto's Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. So to really get why this paper is such a game changer, we have to start with a puzzle that's been bugging digital money since the very beginning. Think about it. If I have a physical dollar bill and I give it to you, that's it. You have it, I don't. Simple. But a digital file, well, that can be copied a million times. So how do you stop me from sending you a digital dollar and then sending that exact same digital dollar to someone else? That's the infamous double spending problem. For the longest time, the only answer was to have a trusted middleman, right? A bank. They keep the official scoreboard, the ledger, and make sure nobody cheats. But the white paper argues this whole trust-based model is, well, kind of broken. It adds costs, things can be reversed, and you're basically forced to put all your faith in one single institution. The whole point here was to flip that on its head, to replace trust with cold, hard, cryptographic proof. Yeah, this reliance on trust, that's the central problem the entire paper is built to solve. It's about proposing a completely different way of thinking about how we transact online. And right here, this is it. This is the mission statement. The idea was just totally radical. Let's build a system where any two people, anywhere on Earth, can send money directly to each other. Just like handing over cash, but digital. No bank, no credit card company, no intermediary at all. Okay, so great idea. But how in the world do you actually build a system that can work without anyone trusting each other? Well, the white paper builds the solution piece by fascinating piece, and it all starts by totally rethinking what a digital coin even is. First things first, you've got to forget the idea that a coin is a file. It's not. In this system, a coin is its history. It's literally just a chain of digital signatures. When I want to send you a coin, I just add my digital signature to the end of the chain, passing ownership to you. It creates this public verifiable history of everywhere that coin has ever been. But wait a second, this brings us right back to our big problem, doesn't it? Sure, that chain of signatures proves who owned the coin in the past, but it doesn't prove that I didn't secretly sign it over to someone else 5 minutes ago in a different transaction. We're right back at square one with the double spending problem. And here we get the first huge piece of the puzzle. The solution? No more secrets. To stop people from making shady side deals, every single transaction has to be publicly announced, shouted from the rooftops for the entire network to see and hear. So all of these public announcements create what's called a public ledger. You can think of it like a giant community notebook that everyone shares and can look at. But, and this is the crucial part, for this to work, everyone on the network has to agree on a single, shared history of every transaction and the exact order they came in. This public history becomes the absolute heart of the whole system. Now, to keep this giant notebook organized and secure, transactions get bundled together into blocks, kind of like pages in the book. Each block gets sealed with a unique cryptographic fingerprint called a hash. And here's the genius part. The hash of one block is included in the next block, forming an interlocking chain. This means if you tried to tamper with an old transaction, you'd break the seal on that block, which would break the seal on the next one and the next one. It makes the history incredibly hard to fake. And that, my friends, is the blockchain. Okay, so we have a public blockchain. Great. But that just creates another massive question. In a network where nobody is in charge, who gets to add the next block to the chain? Who is the official record keeper? This is where the paper introduces its most famous and, frankly, most brilliant idea. Now, you might think, why not just let everyone vote? You know, one IP address, one vote. The paper shoots that down pretty fast because it's way too easy for an attacker to just grab thousands of IP addresses and control the network. So instead, it proposes something much smarter. Tie voting power to something real, something that costs resources. Tie it to computing power. One CPU, one vote. This whole idea is called proof of work, and it's basically a giant lottery. All the computers on the network, they're called nodes, are in a constant race to solve an incredibly difficult math puzzle. The very first one to find the solution wins the right to create the next block, add it to the chain, and broadcast it to everybody else. It is a pure competition based on raw processing power. And this is how the whole network comes to an agreement without a boss. It's so elegant. How does everyone know which version of the history is the real one? They just follow one simple rule. The longest chain wins. Why? Because the longest chain, by definition, is the one that has the most computational work,
the most proof of work poured into it. All the honest players will always be working to extend that longest chain, making it grow way faster than any attacker's chain ever could.
So now we've got all the pieces, right? A public ledger, a blockchain to secure it, and this proof of work lottery to decide who gets to write the next page. This section just lays out the simple, elegant rules that make the whole thing tick. The whole thing just runs in this constant cycle. New transactions are broadcast out, nodes all over the world gather them up and start racing to solve that proof of work puzzle. As soon as one node finds the answer, it broadcasts its winning block. Everyone else quickly checks the work, and if it's all good, they add that new block to their chain and immediately start racing to build the next one on top of it. On and on it goes. Now, let's be real. This whole process, what we call mining, is not free. It's expensive. It uses a ton of electricity and needs powerful computers. So that brings us to the most critical question of all. Why would anyone bother? What's the motivation? And the answer in the white paper is just perfect. It's the incentive. The node that wins the race and creates the next block gets rewarded with brand new coins, literally created out of thin air. The paper uses this fantastic analogy. It's like gold miners expending resources to add gold to circulation. This reward does two things at once. It gets new money into the system, and it pays for the very security that makes the whole network run. So you take this public ledger, you add the computational race of proof of work, and you throw in a clear economic incentive. What you end up with is a system that's incredibly secure, one that works without you having to trust any single person or any single company. The design of this system is so clever because it makes cheating just unbelievably difficult. An attacker can't just create money from nothing. The network's rules would instantly reject it. So their only real move is to try and reverse a payment they already made, to double spend a coin. But to do that, they would have to secretly build an alternate version of the blockchain that's longer than the real one, which means they'd have to outcompute the entire honest network combined. And the math on this, which the paper lays out, shows just how close to impossible that is. This table shows the odds for an attacker that somehow controls 10% of the whole network's computing power. After just one new block gets added on top of your transaction, their chance of reversing it is already down to 20%. After 5 blocks, it drops to less than 0.1%. The probability just plummets exponentially, making transactions pretty much irreversible over time. And this all leads to the paper's conclusion. The beauty of this system is its unstructured simplicity. There's no central point of failure to attack. Nodes can pop online and offline whenever they want. They vote with their processing power. And the rules of the game are enforced by the consensus of the majority, not by some central authority. You know, the paper set out to solve a very specific technical problem, this double spending issue. But in doing so, it opened the door to a much bigger, much more profound question that we're all still exploring today. What new possibilities are unlocked for the world when we have a financial system that can operate not on trust, but on pure, verifiable proof?